Okay, looks like we're going live. Okay, I think we're live. If anyone who's watching right now can give us a 5 by 5, 5 by
Yeah,
5 would be helpful. Go ahead.
it looks like we're live now.
Okay,
Uh,
excellent. If
yep,
you guys let us know if you can hear us okay.
yep. So we are live. Today it's going to be me, the Free American Press, Alexander Hora, and Patrick with Truth, Money, and Freedom, and we're going to be making a live video together. Hi, Patrick. How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing okay. Hey, for the record, it is April 8th, 2021, and we're going to talk about some things. And if you guys can let us know you can hear us okay, 5 by 5 us, if that's okay, guys. Give us a 5 by 5. Anyone who's watching, it looks like we got 3 viewers right now.
Yeah, yeah. Sounds good. Um,
And let's see. Oh, there's a delay here, so that may take a little bit. Um, but yeah, Alex wants to talk to me about something that I did here in my local area here, and it had to do with a school bond issue. And it's actually quite a story.
yeah,
Okay,
definitely.
George Washington is reporting 5 by 5 loud and clear. Thank you very much, George. I appreciate you, buddy.
Yeah,
So,
thank you.
all right,
So,
go. So we'll turn it over to Alex. Go ahead, buddy.
so, so, can you tell us what the bond was for?
Yes, I live in a school district called Clever, Missouri. The bond was actually for, it was billed as safety and security. And what was in it was HVAC upgrades to the heating and air conditioning. They were going to update the school's security cameras, and then they were going to put in some kind of intercom system in between the buildings all over the district and do a very plush schoolhouse, or I'm sorry, a field house, which is actually, um, it was a clubhouse. We have a very small community here. They wanted to put in a very, very nice, luxurious, elitist sport house for our very small school district. We're a town of under 3,000 people. We probably have 2,800. There's not a whole lot of houses to pull revenue from, and they tried to slip this one under the radar with safety and security updates, with school cameras, HVAC updates, or heating and air conditioning cameras, and a field house. So that's what the bond was about. That's what it was billed as a safety and security bond.
Wow. So was there going to be monetary gain or benefits from this bond given to the members of the school district?
I don't know. I didn't look far enough into it to see if that was the case. However, that's a good question because they didn't get quotes from people to do this. They didn't get official, honest to God quotes from corporations to come in and do this work. They got some loose estimates, but they did have the date to start building the field house. They had an actual, honest to God date in September to start construction. That was already pre-planned. So I suspect that basically, yes, there was probably sweetheart deals being done, but I can't prove that. So I
Right.
should be intellectually honest too. I can't prove it, but I suspect there probably was.
So did the school district try to sneak this bond through without voters knowing about it?
Well, yeah, they kind of did. I'll explain that. My wife found out from someone that she works with 2 weeks before the vote for this bond that it was even going to happen. Now, we may not be the normal couple, my wife and I, because we don't watch television. We don't read the newspaper. So basically, we get our news from the internet. And there was no news on the internet that we found that had anything to do with this. So what we were left with was someone telling her at work about this, and then basically we looked into it and found out there was indeed a bond issue on the ballot for April in our school district for this luxurious elitist sports house. Yes. So they
Wow.
tried to, and by the way, the mailers that went out to the public, those of us who pay the property taxes, we did
Yeah.
get the mailer, but a week and a half before the vote, and it was filled with deception.
Wow, that's really unbelievable. So, did they just try to put this vote under the radar so people didn't know about it? Was there a reason for that?
I think so because if you look at the Secretary of State's homepage, here in Missouri, you can actually look at historically the times to vote in Missouri, and we all have November elections that are general elections every 2 years. But we also have primary elections that are in August when we have those main elections. But we also have April elections for local issues. And the April elections are very lucky, very, very fortunate, Alex, to get as many as 100 people in our community voting on something. And those things are usually very important. It's because people don't know about those elections. They don't even know what's going on. So they tried to get this one under the radar. And I've got another story about that in a little bit on the April election. Um, but basically, we got the vote out and we did a massive campaign, my wife and I, to alert everyone about the dishonesty of our school district and what they did with the bond, how they worded the bond, what the bond was actually for, and there was a lot of help, and that came along the way quietly. And I'll talk about that in a little while too when we get into the nuts and bolts of how to do this kind of campaign. But yes, they definitely tried to get this under the radar. There is no doubt about it.
So, was this bond unnecessary?
Yes, it was totally unnecessary and quite expensive. $2.6 million.
Wow.
We're a community of under 3,000 people, Alex, and that was for something that wasn't even academic related. It was sports related. Yes, there were issues in there, small issues, HVAC updates, heating and air conditioning, the intercom system, and cameras. That's a very small part of what that bond would have gone towards, though. It was mostly
Right.
for the sporting field house. Go ahead.
So they're just trying to put a few good things in there, so you just have to pass the bond because then you'll get these few little concessions. Is
That's
that what you're?
correct. But also too the wording, Alex. Safety and security updates. That was how the bond was billed. That was the tagline: safety and security, right? But what they
Yeah.
were getting was, maybe $500,000 of stuff that the school needed, and then about 2.1 million of something the school didn't need. So that's how
Well,
they did it. That's the deception right there, and we'll dive further in a bit.
it definitely does seem like deception. Would this bond, if it would have been passed, would it made it so property taxes would have gone higher for your local community?
Yes, well, technically that was part of the deception. I explained this in a video. By the way, in the link of this live stream, you'll see two videos that I made that were directed to the local community of Clever that I live in. So you can actually see on the video how I explained to the people how we were being deceived by the school district. And by the way, I consider this video that Alex and I are doing right now very, very, very critical to people to understanding how schools are deceptive in some of the bonds they pass. So please do look at those two videos in the description section. They're very short. One's 10 minutes, the other one is 6. It'll take 16 minutes of your life. So I explain in the first video there the difference between a vertical bond increase and a horizontal bond increase. And Alex, you're right. It was an increase, even though they billed it as um, they said it was a no tax increase bond issue. But what it was is they were lengthening the amount of time that we were already paying on existing bonds. So it was technically an increase because if we didn't vote for this, the bonds cut off right here as opposed to being stretched out even further. So we're paying more money even longer, basically because it gets voted in. What they're thinking is everyone thinks one dimensionally. If your taxes don't go up, then you don't get an increase in taxes. But actually, you can have a horizontal increase where you're paying the same tax rate for much longer than you would have if it hadn't passed. So that was part of the deception.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. So it seems to me that these members of the school district, whoever they are, uh, that they wanted to pass this bond so they could take tax revenue from the local community forcibly when they could have just started a GoFundMe page on YouTube if they really wanted a nice plush sports center place for the teachers and the kids, right?
I agree. I agree. I think there's probably ways to raise money for these things. I mean, they've got a very active booster club. This is actually a big deal, the booster club. Sports are a big deal in Clever. I get it. But for my tax dollars to go into, a sports center like that, I find unacceptable. In fact, I find it offensive. I find it very offensive. These are my tax dollars too. If my tax dollars are for education, I get it. If it's for academic achievement, I get it. If it's to sending more kids off to college, I get it. If it's preparing kids for life skills like woodworking or metalworking or mechanical work, I get it. If it's literally to have a plush field house for, the sports athletes in the school, I don't want to have anything to do with that. I don't want to pay for a plush really nice clubhouse where there's offices, even conference rooms, locker
Uh,
rooms, shower rooms, a lobby, so we can. That it is what it was is to show off to the other communities in the area. Hey, we have a better sports program than you do, Nixa, Republic. We have a nicer sports house than you do. It's all about school spirit. But
yeah,
really,
that's all do.
yeah, so you guys get it. And they tried to sneak that under the radar. This is actually a big deal, gang.
Oh yeah, it definitely is because this is a case that you actually beat them, and we're going to go into that in a little bit.
Hmm.
You beat these people. You were able to stop this spawn from going in place. You actually brought in fiscal responsibility for your community. So it seems to me, though, Patrick, that if they were having all these places for teachers to hang out in this plush sports center, offices, and things like that. It just seems to me like this area was really more designated for a place for teachers to hang out. Am I correct in that assessment?
Well, I don't know about that, but I do know that it was overkill for a school district of our size. So this was really more about bragging rights and having prestige within Southwest Missouri. That we give more money to our sports program than the big communities to the right and left of us. We have we have more interest in our sports and promoting sports in our school than those big boy schools that are 10 times larger than us. It was literally about, like I said, prestige. So
Right.
and they wanted $2.6 million from the taxpayers to show off to the other school districts.
They really wanted to just put your community in debt forever, it sounds like, with that much money being used. So, can you tell the viewers how you were able to stop them?
Okay, gotcha. This gets into a longer story, but as we discussed just a little bit ago, my wife and I found out about this literally 2 weeks before the vote. We had no idea. It wasn't even on our radar. So we didn't have a whole lot of time to act. So what we did is we took advantage of Facebook. And in Facebook, we have the Neighborhood of Clever, which is a community page in Facebook by invitation only. And there's like 4.5 thousand people in this Neighborhood of Clever. Well, what I did is I started. My wife, by the way, worked this with me. I don't want to take full credit. My wife was 100% a partner with me on this. In fact, she was instrumental and critical. But she was typing up, or she was, as we were gathering data, um, what I did is I called up the school superintendent. Guys, this is where the rubber hits the road. This is where the video's worth it. What I did is I wanted to find out from the superintendent how much debt the school system still had, right? This is
Yeah.
to you and me, this is a no-brainer, right? If we're going to add more debt, let's find out about our existing debt and how much we have left of that. Because we're homeowners and we want to know how much longer this is going to get drawn out. We want to find out how much interest we're paying on the existing bonds. These are all critical points. So I asked the superintendent the following questions, critical questions, three of them. Number one, how much principal is left on the bonds for the school district? Number two, how much interest have we paid on those bonds? And number three, what is the expected maturity date of these bonds? Guess what? Never got an answer. He,
Oh.
yep, no kidding. When they're coming to me asking for more money, they won't tell me how much debt we have currently in the school district.
And these people are supposed to serve your children, your community, but they can't even respond to you for such a pertinent question.
That's correct. They did
Wow.
not they did not have the time to get this done. Now, I don't know what he does with his time. I know I'm not a superintendent myself, but I would think that they would have this information ready to go when they're asking for more money from the community. That this literally would be a question that would come up. But apparently, no, this kind of question doesn't come up. So whenever someone is actually trying to defeat a school bond for something that's unnecessary, you could probably defeat them quite easily just by looking at your existing debt levels in your school district.
Yeah, definitely. So, did you have any personal attacks directed to you, uh, for you and your family by the school district, people in
Yeah,
the school district?
well, threats is relative. They were idle threats from people that are keyboard warriors. So I know enough about my community to know that my life is not in danger, but I will say that we got attacked quite a bit. By the way, I did this. By the way, this is another pertinent point. And hello to Nevada Cario. Hey there, buddy. Um, that basically this was done with a Facebook account under the name Timmy Chonga with a picture of my dog, and it has a fake biography. Um, and so there's nothing real about that account. That's just my dog, right? And I was
Yeah,
able to actually defeat the school district with that account. So I didn't even have to have a real person account to actually defeat the school district. It was the data I was bringing in that was important.
that
So
that
go ahead.
really seems to show that you can defeat, people like this with just good information.
That's correct. And no one was asking for this information. And also, my wife and I are realists. We knew that if we did not take up the mantle on this, that no one else would. So basically, what we did is we started posting data, and I followed it up with videos. Those are the videos you'll find down below in the description section of this video from a separate account that I had set up on Facebook called Clever Resident. And I literally brought forth the information or the lack of information I was getting from the school district along with my personal thoughts. And it really resonated with the community. This was a done deal, Alex. This bond was going to go through. There was no doubt. This was easy peasy lemon squeezy until my wife and I showed up on the scene. Just to ask the questions that no one else thought of, or no one else actually. I could be more honest with you. Actually, not just be honest with you, but let you know the reality of the situation. There were quite a few community leaders that would not come forward and do what my wife did because they were afraid of losing their positions or losing their income.
Mm.
And that's all I will say about it. I can't get more specific than that. There were
So,
people, go ahead.
so they were probably threatened by the school district, by their quote unquote club type thing. Oh, if you do this, if you don't scratch our backs, we won't scratch yours anymore
I
type
don't
thing.
know that there was a conversation like that. I think it's probably just an understanding,
Okay,
because the school is a very big part of a small community, especially
right.
when you have, a school district as elaborate as ours for such a small community. And so I think it's just an understanding that if you go against the school and you have a business in the area or, you work for the school district, things might get a little lean, you know. I
That makes
think that's probably what, happened.
So, what did people in the general community, how did they react to this information you were giving them?
That was an interesting part of what happened because once again now this was an entirely Facebook campaign apart from the night before the election I did put out some signs. So that's it. That's all it took to defeat this. Um, so when I first started putting out information, the attacks came right away. So this was basically attacking the character, of Chimichanga, fake account on Facebook, fake person, fake news, misinformation, because that's what came out right away. Once again, it's my dog's Facebook account. I don't have a Facebook account. My dog does.
Yeah.
So that's what we were getting almost immediately. I mean, literally within 10 minutes of putting up a post, the attacks began. But also, too, people started coming out of the woodwork. Um, where did you get this information? How did you get this? Is there any way this can be verified? So people started coming out of the woodwork going, this is good information. We should know this before we go in for the vote. So it slowly started to roll in. In about 2 days before the vote, it became a virtual war on Facebook between those who said, we can't vote this in. Look at how they're screwing us. Look at how they're lying to us. They're being dishonest with us. The whole school board is lying to us. We can't do this. To the other one saying, do it for the kids. The kids need this. Who cares about the school board? The kids need this, this field house or whatever they want to call it. The athletes need it. We know they need it. And then the coach for the Clever School District chimed in. And this is the night before. And what happened was they were actually starting to see how serious this was getting. And basically, this blew up into something where they were only expecting maybe 80 votes for the entire school district to decide to put in this plush, sports house. And the activity on Facebook exploded to the point where they know they were getting a lot more than 80 votes, but this was all contingent on a small amount of people voting. Like we talked at the very beginning, Alex, very little notification. People don't know what's going on. Oh, screw it. I'm not going to go in and vote. I don't
Yeah.
even know what this is about, right?
They just get all their friends to vote,
Yeah.
and then get it through really quickly.
Yeah.
So obviously, though, you got your community to agree with you. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened there?
Yeah. Well, let me finish up real quick. Um,
Okay.
because I'm going to go into the vote and what was happening on Facebook during the vote, which was on Tuesday. So we're going into this vote, and people are starting to talk about the amount of people coming in to vote, and the counters for the two voting polls that we have in Clever, Missouri. And the club, we call them the club, those who wanted the sports clubhouse, got nervous and started on Facebook going, oh my God, get the vote out, get the vote out. Everyone get out and vote, which was what I was saying the whole time, because they knew with a larger vote, there was a less chance of them getting what they wanted. So they got desperate. And literally, I'm not going to say names. Actually, I can't be more specific than that. But one guy actually got on Facebook and literally said, the guy who is talking about this being the lie about the no tax increase is full of crap. And he didn't say crap either. He said it's all bull crap. He said they're lying. That dog account on Facebook is lying to you. This is a no tax increase bond. Do it for the kids. Do it for the kids. It's all about the kids. Do you love our kids?
So whenever they start saying, because I think this is true for federal government as well, though we're not going to get into that. When they start saying "do it for the kids," saying it like that, usually it's not for the kids; it's for themselves. It's to help themselves.
That's correct. This was for an elitist sports clubhouse. This was for literally setting up Clever, Missouri to have the prestige of having the nicest sports field house in southwest Missouri, I believe.
Yeah.
Um,
So
we love sports. We support our kids. So we show that by getting the most elaborate, expensive, beautiful, elitist sport house on the high school property that we can possibly get away with. And that's how we show our kids we support education.
yeah, definitely. So how many people ended up voting for this? You said
626.
okay. So
They
you got
they expected about 80.
wow.
So
So
we
you
got the
got
vote out.
yeah, you definitely did. So, did you guys? Can you tell us how you won?
Yep, we won 330 votes to 296 votes, but that's deceptive because you're thinking 50-50. You know, that's where it breaks even. But when you do a new bond, you have to have 57.15% of the vote in the state of Missouri. So they actually lost by 10%. So getting out the vote made a massive difference. And by the way, this was a foregone conclusion that this was going to get done. Like I said, they actually had a date set for the beginning of construction and an end date for construction on their plan on their website, which is now down. It's gone now. But
Oh,
it was, yeah, they
they took
took it.
it off.
Yep, they did. They took it off the school district's website.
Wow, why do you think they would ever do something like that?
I don't know. I think there's a lot of attention on it right now and what they were doing and the deception that they used to try and get this passed in our school district. Um, I'm all about education, Alex. I mean, you won't find, and by the way, public school, charter school, private school, homeschool, school is good. Now, it's what we do with the schools that makes them great, right? And I am against them using taxpayer money to show off to the local districts, school districts, the neighboring districts, how much money we spend on our sports program. And so this is not the centerpiece of education, is it? Um,
No.
yeah, I really doubt that we will be sending a lot of people off to college with sports scholarships in a small town like this. It will happen. It will happen. But is it worth $2.6 million to do that? The answer is no. It
And
absolutely. Go ahead.
plus the interest as well
And that
would be
plus the
quite high.
interest. Thank you.
So, has a school bond ever been struck down in your county in particular and in the state of Missouri?
Yes, a pre-K building bond was struck down. My wife and I had a lot to do with that. I believe that might have been 2017. So that was actually, I actually don't want to go into what the pre-K building was or what the program that was presented to us was because it's totally irrelevant to me. But yes, there was one other initiative that had nothing to do with education that my wife and I worked together to strike down. It's actually quite easy to get school bonds struck down if they're doing something that doesn't have anything to do with education. It's very easy to actually do these campaigns. Some people might say, from the outside, looking at what I did with my wife. By the way, I need to keep saying my wife. She was so critical to this. Um, what we did was so easy. And so this wasn't a hard thing to do. It took a little bit of time, but it didn't take, a lot of effort. It didn't take a lot of brain power, and we didn't really need help from other people. Although it was nice when the help came in. I think, basically for me making YouTube videos and for her to do her nice write ups on Facebook about the bullet points of what they were trying to do, was actually quite easy to do. And go ahead.
And this is really rare though for a school bond to be struck down though, such as in your state, right?
Right. This is unusual for a school bond like this to be struck down. In fact, let me go into that for a second because that's another very important part of this. The other side that wanted this sports or the sports house, whatever you want, a clubhouse, literally say how embarrassing it is that this got voted down. How embarrassing it is. I find it embarrassing that this was even put up for a vote, that a bond issue was being created to put in this sports house. I find that embarrassing because we're too small for that level of elitism in our sports program.
Well, I mean too, if the school really wanted to build it, they could have either started a GoFundMe or there's another option. They're already getting plenty of money from property taxes. Maybe they could actually save their money instead of spending it for a while and then eventually buy something like this if they really wanted to, right?
Ooh, you just touched the third rail of bonds in the school district, saving money.
Yeah.
You got to keep spending money if you want to keep trying to get money out of the people.
Yeah.
So that's the way it works. They don't like to save money, although they do have savings in our district. I just found out about it, but not from the school district. I found out about it from another source that has ties to the school district, that they actually have $4 million in savings while they're trying to soak us for 2.6
They
million.
really they had $4 million in savings, but
Yes,
they're trying to steal. So basically, what this school
it's
district is trying
extortion.
to do is trying to suck as much money out of the community, like something, and just enrich the school basically.
Yes, yes. I
Uh,
think that's probably a good way of putting it. Let's actually take it down to another level, which is uh, what they need very badly right now is a new middle school because our small community is growing. And our middle school that we have right now was not set up for the level of growth that we have had in the last 15 years. So this is important. So we have a school, we do have a middle school right now where the kids are packed in like sardines, 32 to a classroom. And these classrooms were not designed to hold 32 kids. And they forewent getting the middle school done to try and get that field house done before we went for the new tax on the middle school.
Now that's really an abuse of power, in my opinion.
This is actually criminal, in my opinion. So go ahead.
And they have $4 million where they could build a new middle school, but right now they're doing nothing with that money. They're not trying to use the money that they've got for the taxpayer for the benefit of the kids.
Well, they'll never build a middle school with 4 million. It costs too much. But so 4 million would be a nice start, but it'll cost probably about 16 million, about four
Oh,
times
okay.
that to build the middle school. Um, you know, it basically has to do with the sizes. I told you that we're a community of 2,800. It gets a little complicated. I think we have 2,800 people living in Clever, but we're in the county where basically we have other counties and other areas that are outside the school district or outside the city that where their kids come to our schools. So, but they don't get taxed because they're in different counties.
Oh,
So it
well,
gets complicated. So they have to pull more resources from people that are actually in the county side of the school district. I don't live in Clever. I'm actually 4 miles away from Clever, but I'm in the school district, so I have a Clever address.
so
You know,
they're able to tax you then.
that's correct. And boy, oh boy, howdy, did they tax me. Um, so, so at any rate, a lot of folks said because I don't have kids in school, I shouldn't have a voice. I say I'm a taxpayer and I have a voice, whether they like it or not. So basically, what this comes down to is a couple of things. This is, like I said, this is critical. And I'm glad we're talking today, Alex, because um, the level of deceit that we got from our school district is so high that I'm actually thinking about calling for the resignation of the superintendent. Now, we could get rid of the entire school board, but that would require a recall, which would take more time and effort. But, should I say God bless them for trying to extort, the people of the school district with false claims, no tax increase, where we had a horizontal tax increase as opposed to a vertical one, still an increase. It's still an increase. They lied about that. They were probably very dishonest about how much the sports club, or the field house cost. So it's
Yeah,
actually going to be significantly more than what they claimed it was. Um, but also, too, trying to slip this in under the radar on an April election. They've been planning this since 2019. We could have done this in the 2020 election when everyone shows out or shows up to vote. And then they'd have the whole community voting on this. No, they waited for the quiet April election that no one pays attention to and no one goes to vote on. So, go ahead.
yeah, definitely. And it seems like the school was trying to live beyond their means, and it seems like they were setting a bad economic example for the kids that are going to school there.
Well, I don't know that they even teach economics properly in our school district here. I don't know one way or the other. But I do know the dishonesty in which this whole thing actually was born in tells me that there must be ramifications to the school district. And so I have several ideas, and I don't think they're going to like them. But I also think with my little dog's Facebook account that I could probably make them a reality whether the school district wants it or not. And that is this. Number one, we're going to have to set up an advisory board of citizens to help make decisions in the school district and take that power away from the board and the superintendent.
Good
And number
idea.
two, if they don't like that idea, then we put together a coalition to make sure that a middle school never gets built until that superintendent loses his job for trying to literally pull a fast one on us on the sport house. There must be ramifications for this. Um,
Yeah.
and by the way, I've never gone to them face to face. This is all a Facebook battle that this was. I've called the superintendent and talked to him on the phone, and so has my wife. But we've not gone to see him face to face or anything. But I have no respect for that man whatsoever after what he tried to pull. And also the dishonesty bothers me to a level where I know where the wherewithal and the will to make this happen came from: soccer moms and football dads. So I'm not, I'm a realist. I know where that came from. Um, so I just got to say, they got defeated. Now, we're not rubbing their nose in anything. This is not what this is about. This was, we got out the vote, we educated people, and the vote went our way. Thank God.
And oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, and so from my point of view, we have to make sure that something like this never ever happens again, because people get too complacent with their school boards and with their superintendents, thinking, oh, they have our kids' best interests at heart. There are business interests here. There has to be. The Chamber of Commerce in any town is pretty involved in the schools, and school decisions, and believe it or not, they're kind of interlinked in many different ways. But I think that right now, and I may change my thinking on this later, because believe it or not, they will see this video. They will see this video and they're going to go, oh my God, what a smug little guy. Well, let me tell you, those people on the school board are so arrogant for not coming to the people and being honest about what they were trying to do. They all deserve to lose their jobs, every one of them. The superintendent must go first. I'm sorry, Mr. Finsky, you must go. Mr. Finsky, you have to go for this dishonesty, for trying to slide this under the rug, for expecting the lowest voter turnout, for doing this in April, for the wording on the bond issue saying this is safety and security updates when it was really for a plush schoolhouse. You must go. Your days are numbered, my friend. And if anyone on the school board wants to fight a coalition of community members coming together to make sure that you guys don't do this sort of thing with the middle school, then you all need to go. I'm sorry, and I'm going to catch flack for this. I know my next door neighbor is one of the principals. My next door
Right.
neighbor, literally 100 feet that way. so
Wow.
so
So,
I this is how passionate I am about this.
well, it's good, and it's good that we're actually seeing, this is a great victory. You actually brought your county back under fiscal responsibility a little bit.
Well, my
You know,
city, yes.
yeah,
My county, that I haven't done that yet.
because they're both interconnected.
Yeah.
So you were able to do this. You actually did. This is a really good victory. We need to see more people like you, I feel, doing this, because if we don't, we're just going to spend more, and then we're going to be taxed more. We're seeing it on the federal level all the way down to the local level. So we need to start at the bottom, go up to fix the system, I'd say.
You know what?
And
I agree.
to, yeah. So do you think these people might try to pull some sort of fast one and make a new bond and try to get people to vote on the same thing again?
That's a very good question. Right now, there's scuttlebutt that they're going to try it again. My gut tells me they won't, but my gut's been wrong before. But the thing is we'll be watching very closely, and my dog's Facebook account will be all over it if they do. However, it's entirely possible that I could be kicked off the neighborhood of Clever, for because the person who runs that Facebook group called the Neighborhood of Clever was very much for this, and it's frankly a miracle that she did not kick me out of the group when I started bringing in this information. because she was very big and vocal on attacking me.
Well, maybe she still believes in freedom of speech. I don't know.
It's possible.
But worst case scenario though, you can make your own clever Facebook page, or you can just go directly to the people, right?
Yep, you could still go directly to the people. It takes a little more time, but also too, it's really good when people can interact, basically in that format. When you go direct to the people, that's harder to do. You're getting people's opinions face to face, but they can't talk to other people and get their opinions and get more information. I mean, the way I look at it, this way, Alex. The more information we have, the more power we have. And that's exactly what this school did, is they prevented the flow of proper information to the people to make a good informed decision at the ballot box on April 6th. That's what the school district did. They cut off the flow of information. They wouldn't get me the information I needed on the existing bonds, so I couldn't inform the people when the bonds matured and basically when we were going to get a tax break. They would not let me have that information. So basically, they cut off the flow of information. We're adding more debt without knowing about our existing debt. You know,
Uh, So is the superintendent elected? Is he an unelected bureaucrat? And what about other members of the school board?
the school board are elected officials, and we just elected two more on the same ballot that this initiative was on. But the superintendent is hired by the board, so he
Oh,
is an unelected bureaucrat. That is
so
correct.
have you thought of making it where the board has to vote on it, not hire somebody?
Well,
Or
I think they probably do operate that way.
okay,
I think they do. So I think it is a vote. But at the same time, I mean, I got to say, my words have been very strong today, and I mean every bit of it. This superintendent, by allowing this to happen this way, this vote that we went through, someone's got to stand up and say no more of this nonsense. This is our tax money you're playing with here, and you don't care. The plush sport house was more important to you than how important my tax dollars are to me and that they're well spent. All right, good. I got the message. Now you must go. And I will form a coalition to make sure that you do go if you do not accept an advisory board to actually oversee the middle school planning, phase, because that's going to be starting here within a year. If they don't accept that advisory board, we're going to have a shakeup within our district here. Um, I'm not going to take this bull crap from them anymore.
yeah, definitely. Have you thought of running for public office?
No,
Has anybody talked to you about that?
a lot of people, not a lot. Actually, there's four people that I know that have asked me to run for public office, but honestly, I don't have any interest in doing so. I understand basically, you talked about from the ground up, literally starting on the local level, cleaning up our local politics. And if we do that on a city level, then we can start affecting our county politics. And then if we can get the county politics done, then we can clean up our state politics. And if we can get that done, then maybe we can go to federal. I get it. I am just an activist, a concerned citizen that does pay attention as much as I can anyway. And I try to right the ship when I see it going off course. And I want to say, um, actually, if someone like me were to run for office, that would be a good thing because then we wouldn't need as many activists in our community. Because the good people that go into office would be doing the right thing, and we wouldn't have to be watching them so closely anymore. But that eventually forms complacency as well. Now, I'm not saying, go ahead.
I think the best way is like you said, there should always be an advisory board as
Hmm.
well.
I
But
agree.
I do think we need to get the right people in though, because if we have corrupt people, it's just gonna ruin the whole system from the ground up. So if we can get better people in government who are actually for the people, they're not corrupt, then let's get them in and watch them very closely. If we see them, they change, they get paid off, kick them out as quickly as possible. We need to be like hawks, like
Yep.
watching.
Well,
I
that's
think it was
another thing too.
Thomas Jefferson said that, or Benjamin Franklin, saying you have to be eternally vigilant, and you also need good people in government as well to pursue good policies, or unfortunately we could always have, activists doing something, like, which is great, but we can't actually do anything politically, though our hands are tied because we're not actually able to make these decisions
Yep.
because they have disenfranchised us so much.
Yep. So, and I agree with you. And in fact, if you have good people in local government, you can have smaller local government. So that's an important point too. And I'm a libertarian. I think our governments are just far, far too large, far too large. And of course, the bigger they grow, the more powerful they get, the more of our taxes and freedoms they take from us. It happens on a local level. It happens on a federal level. But defeating bonds is actually something that I would like people to look into in your area. When you have a situation where you need a new school, yeah, you're going to need that school. You're going to pay for it. However, a watchdog group to make sure that basically it's not sweetheart deals to the nephew of a school board member getting the concrete work. Make sure
Yeah.
that's bid out properly. This is called nepotism. These sweetheart deals are what I expected were probably going to happen with the clubhouse. I don't know that, so I don't have any information on that whatsoever. None.
It does seem like $2 million even for a big clubhouse is pretty expensive. Like, you can buy a house like in a really nice area. You can buy a mansion in Georgia for with 300 acres for that type of money.
Yeah,
Like, it's quite a bit. Uh, so can you tell the viewers how they can do this on their own level?
absolutely. First off, you got to find an avenue to know what's going on in your local community because that's what I had to do. Guys, I don't watch television. I don't read the newspaper. I don't get the newspaper. So clearly, between those two things, you don't know your local news anymore unless you literally know where to find your local news on the internet. And in the case of our small town, we have the neighborhood of Clever on Facebook. So that's how I find out what's going on in my town. So there's probably something like that. If you're not watching the news and if you're not getting the paper, that's what you have is Facebook groups. And I'm pretty sure whatever town you're in, there is a neighborhood of your town, USA. So that's one place to look. Another way is to actually be involved in school board meetings. So that's easier said than done for a lot of people. But basically, if you're in the school board meetings, you would have found out about, the bond issues well before the general public would. Well before. The only thing is I'm not involved with the school board. I have a sneaking suspicion, though, that I'm going to be much more involved here in the immediate future to make sure that this kind of crap never happens again. And I don't have kids in school. My daughter's grown up. My daughter's 30 years old. I have grandkids, but they're in a different school district. So,
Yeah.
but I do have a niece and nephew in the school, so there's a connection there. So what you do is you find out what's going on in your local area. When there's a bond issue coming in, get all the information on your existing debt, existing bonds, before you allow that one to pass, so that you can anticipate how long your property taxes go on for those bonds, because there is a cost benefit ratio that you need to work with. So if the cost benefit ratio is not good, you need to stop the bond and come up with a better plan. Alex said something that I think is actually really important. Sports are important, okay? I am not trying to take away from that. It's great that the kids get out there, be competitive, get physical exercise, and actually develop that team spirit and that camaraderie. This is all important. But if they want money to support those programs, let the soccer moms and football dads pay for it with something like GoFundMe, like Alex said. There is no reason the people of the community need to be socked on their taxes for a field house or a clubhouse or anything like that. So this is my opinion, by the way, others on Facebook greatly disagree with me on this, that the community needs to pay for it. The whole community, So I disagree with that. When it comes to, basically having a sports program in the school, yes, we should pay for that. If you want luxuries, no, absolutely not. The the field house was a luxury.
And this property tax was, since it was going to go higher because of this new bond. Do you think this would have taxed out a lot of businesses and a lot of homeowners, possibly losing their homes or businesses due to this new tax?
Not with this new tax, no, I don't believe that. But the middle school on top of it, there's concern there. And I have ideas on how to get around that, but I don't want to do that in this video because it
Yeah,
gets into information that I don't have yet. So I could put a puzzle together so I can show the school district how to do the middle school, hopefully with a no tax increase bond, another horizontal increase for the middle school rather than doing an actual physical increase. Um,
yeah, definitely.
and so I'd like to show them how to do that, but also I need access to the existing financial data. They've not made that available to me. I may have
Right.
to use Missouri Sunshine Law to get that data,
Yeah,
um,
that's true.
since they have not had the time to get this data for me as of yet. But all things being equal, we have a good school system here. So, because people accuse me of bashing, our teachers work hard. I know several of the teachers personally. They're good people, and they try real hard. And when we have teachers that are taking money out of their own salary to provide hand sanitizer, Kleenex, for their classrooms, materials for kids to do projects with, and they have to take that out of their own paychecks, while the school board is coming after me for money for a plush clubhouse, that makes me angry.
Yeah.
That makes me very angry. So, uh,
So basically, what you're saying, education is key. You need to know what's going on to stop it, and I think that's really something great that you really something a great accomplishment that you did. So, is there anything else you'd like to add to the video, Patrick?
not really, other than this is easy to do, gang. This is easy to do. This is not a difficult thing to actually go after these bonds and shut them down when they're not good bonds. I I think that people think that, oh geez, we're talking about a school district, we're talking about a school board. Who am I to even tell them? You know, um, you're a member of the community. You're a taxpayer. You have every right to go and talk to them about your concerns. And when they're not upfront with you about their financials, everything they do from that point forward is now suspect. Everything. From the relationships they have with businesses, that's now suspect. To any bonds they want to pass in the future are now suspect because they're not even sharing you information with the existing bonds that were voted in. Where are we on those bonds? Ask those questions. If they give you all that information, they're being upfront. You can work with them. In the case of mine, I can't work with them because they're not upfront and they're dishonest. They've dishonestly titled a bond safety and security update bond, and they had a very expensive clubhouse on it. Plush, elitist, sports, elitist clubhouse. So I encourage everyone to get involved in your local politics in this way because your tax dollars are on the line here. Your property taxes. Get involved. Don't let them railroad you. Look at California. Look at Illinois. Look at New Jersey, New York. People are flooding out of those states to get away from taxes. We here in Clever, Missouri have a contingent of soccer moms and football dads that are trying to compete with places like Illinois and California on our property taxes. And to them, it doesn't matter. It's important. Do it for the kids. Do it for the kids. You know, if you vote against this clubhouse, it's a vote against the kids. You know how many times I got that, Alex, on Facebook?
Probably thousands.
A lot of times. It's a vote against the kids, what I was doing. You hate the kids. You hate our
Yeah,
school district.
that's the oldest playbook in the world. They'll just start spewing profanities and all this stuff when they can't even have a coherent conversation with you.
Yep.
When they should, that's what America's all about. is a debate. And that's really good that we made this video. And I would like to thank everyone who was watching, and thank you, Patrick, for having me on your show.
You bet. Thank you for coming on, Alex. I appreciate you, man.
Okay.
Well, you take care. Thanks again.